If I had a public speaking gig coming up soon, I would prepare exactly like how I'm going to show you in this video. I've been public speaking for more than 15 years and I've been flown out around the world to speak in 4 out of 7 continents and in at least 33 different cities. And I'm about to show you the 7 steps to prepare for your next public speaking event. Because 99% of people don't prepare properly, which can lead them to getting stage fright, to mumbling over their words, and to getting jitters on stage. But if you follow what I'm about to lay out for you, you can go up confident, in control, and make your audience love you. Number 1 is conquer curly questions before they come your way. One part where so many people get tripped up and totally destabilized is when it comes to the fear of panic about, oh my gosh, what if someone asks me a question that I don't know? Because for some reason we feel if we're presenting on a particular topic that we need to be the expert, and as part of feeling the pressure of being the expert, we think we need to have all the answers, which, by the way, I don't think is accurate or correct. With ChatGPT, no one can possibly know as much as ChatGPT does. So ChatGPT, as much as ChatGPT, here we go again. As much as ChatGPT does. In fact, if someone ever tells you that they're the expert and they know everything about everything, I would say run in the opposite direction. But back to this point, conquer curly questions. The best way to be prepared for questions that you cannot possibly predict is to brainstorm. 2 columns. One column is, okay, what are the weirdest questions I could possibly get asked? If you brainstorm, what are the most aggressive questions? What are the most bizarre questions? What are the most wacky questions? What are the most left of center questions? What are the most positive questions? What are the most negative questions? If you go through every single question you could possibly get asked around this topic, and then you prepare an answer for every single one of those questions, you are armed for everything that could possibly come your way. And then when someone does ask you a question, you're like, huh. Is that all you got? That was number 12 on my list. I've got such better stuff. So what we're doing in the process is we're not just preparing ourselves for getting ready for the unexpected by getting prepared and over-prepared for what could come your way, but you're also in the process of answering the questions, you're adding to your content, you're adding to your knowledge base, and this fuels your confidence in a massive way. I learned this the hard way. I once did a keynote presentation and the topic was communication across the generations. And I love this topic because I'm a millennial, and the way that I teach it is I teach generations above me, which is X's and boomers, how to manage millennials, how we can all learn to speak the same languages, and how we can work together in the best way so that older generations can get the most out of our generation and we can all get along in harmony, with joy, and with lots of love and laughter. So after the keynote happens, there was a Q&A and someone put up their hand for something that I was not prepared for. And she said, I am a millennial and I am managing a boomer, which is 2 generations above. What do I do? And clearly that was not in my domain. I'm a millennial who understands everything from a millennial's perspective. That's what my personal experience has been. That's what my research has been. I've got no idea how to manage up because I've never done it. But instead of saying, you know what, amazing question, I don't know, I did that thing where you think you need to know everything, and I just started saying something. And you know when you start saying something and you know it's wrong, but it's coming out of your mouth and you're already committed and you have to follow it through. So it's coming out of my mouth and I know that it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, and it comes out. And then when I finished answering with an answer that I wished I could have changed, at that point I said, great question. Does anyone in the audience have anything to add to that? Has anyone else been in this situation? Which is how I actually should have answered her to start with, or I should have said, the good old-fashioned, I don't know, amazing question, I don't know the answer, I'll get back to you. But instead I just blurted it out because at that point in my career, I felt pressure that I needed to be the expert. So that is where this idea came from, because I was like, how do you possibly prepare for all of the curly questions that you can be frightened of? The best way is to brainstorm, what could they possibly be? How bizarre could they get? How whacked out could they get? How traditional could they get? And then have an answer for all of them, and you are doing research and preparation at the same time. Number 2 is to speak their language. We need to know who our audience is, because otherwise how are we supposed to share a message or inspire or motivate or teach or educate or do anything in a way that's actually going to land? I know this video is all about how to prepare for the next day's gig. This should actually happen way ahead of time. The moment you're actually asked to do a presentation, we need to have this discussion. Okay, cool. Who's in the audience? What are the challenges that they're going through? What are the struggles that they're facing? What are some amazing things that have happened in the industry? What are some challenges that have happened? What's their blood type? Okay, that might be a little bit too much. Not official advice. You can disregard that. But honestly, the amount of times I've seen speakers who just come with their goals and their intentions and don't take into account who the audience is, the message is never going to land, and it's never going to be an amazing experience, and it's going to be a waste of the audience's time and the speaker's time. So we need to speak their language. We need to find out who they are, because we need to know, how am I actually actually going to communicate with them in a way that is going to improve their life, enhance their life, and create an amazing and valuable experience. Like if I'm speaking to a group of academics, I'm going to speak to them in a very different way to a group of hairdressers. Like I've done presentations for hairdressers and they are so fun and they're so vibrant and they're so dynamic, and it's a very different presentation style and exchange. Just like it's different if I do a presentation to school students. The communication and the language is completely different because they're students. So we always need to find out who are we speaking to, what's going on in their world, what message do I want to actually share, what do they need, and then the magic happens in between that. That's the only way you're going to truly have an impact, is by finding out what are the gaps, what are the challenges, what do they want to get out of this, and then how do you deliver in a way that's going to actually fill this space with true value. Number 3 is to reverse engineer your lessons through stories. Stories are so important, especially when we're sharing a message on stage, because stories hit us in the heart. And if we have an emotional reaction to a story, the message itself lands much deeper. Also, if someone gets up on stage and they're just like handing out messages on a silver platter, or it's like, here's a message, here's a message, here's a message, and it's dry and out of context, we don't remember that. In my experience, the best way for an audience to learn is when a speaker shares a story and then the audience is able to actually connect their own dots and take the lessons that actually land and resonate with them. And one of the best ways to do this is to have your lessons reverse engineered through your stories. So think about which stories actually allow me to demonstrate this message, or how did I actually learn this message? Which experience did I have in life that it actually came from, because it just makes it so much more colorful to deliver. Like for example, the first time I did stand-up comedy in New York, I did a 5-minute set at the New York Comedy Club, and I was so nervous, and I'd learned all of my jokes, and I just remembered everything over and over, and I had 5 bullet points written on my hand, and I get up on stage and I was so nervous, and I say my first joke, and then I'm standing there like a deer in headlights and I can't remember anything. It was a 5-minute set, I've got 4 minutes left, and I literally cannot remember anything because I was so nervous. I had a complete disconnect. My brain just like completely disconnected from my body. My physiology just completely took over. I'm sweating, and I look down at my hand to look at the bullet points, and it's a giant smudge mark because I'd been sweating so much. I couldn't remember anything because my brain had already completely disconnected from my body because I wasn't managing my physiology. So I look over at a table of friends and I lock eyes with one of my best friends. And in that moment, I took a breath, and eventually my jokes came flooding back to me. But that showed me how important it is to never rote learn, because when we rote learn our jokes, so many things can come in the way of us remembering them. It feels like it's safe and it feels like it's a secure way to actually have the information embedded in our brain. But the problem and the trap is if we forget one point, the whole thing just unravels. Memorization relies on being able to understand the entire formula and map in your mind. So if one part or 2 parts fray away, we can just lose it entirely. Also, if we can't control our physiology and our brain and our body aren't working in sync, we're going to forget as well. So what message did you get from that? There are a few in there, but the main one that I was trying to convey was don't memorize, don't rote learn. It feels safe and it feels secure, and we do it because it's a comfort technique, but it doesn't work in the moment because there are so many factors and variables that can come in the way, and if we forget one part, we might forget every part. So that was a lesson embedded in a story that made it a more exciting, engaging, fun, and colorful way to actually share it. I learned so many lessons in my comedy career that were pivotal and instrumental in laying an amazing foundation for public speaking. I go into these in so much more depth in my one-to-one client work. If you'd like to learn more about that, click the link in the description below. Number 4 is nail your opening line. The last thing you want to do is get up and waste the crucial 15-30 seconds. You know, there are people get up and they're like, "Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm very excited." You've just taken 8-9 seconds of precious time, and you're literally taking a risk that people are going to pull out their mobile phones and switch off. Don't waste the beautiful opening moments. You can start with a joke, you can start with a story, you can start with a famous quote, you can start with a fact that blows people's mind. You want to make sure that, especially in this era and this age of 3-second attention spans, that you make the most of those first 3 seconds. When I see someone get up on stage and just spend the moments, the precious opening moments going, Thank you so much for having me today. It's a real honor to be here. What an incredible event. It's like, come on, get to the point. Why are you there? That stuff's super important, to thank the audience and to thank the delegates and to thank the event planner. It's crucial. And to say that you're excited, it's awesome, but just don't do it in your first 15 seconds. The more creative your opening is, the more you're going to capture people's attention. And we need to set the tone from the very get-go, because we make a judgment about speakers very fast. So if you're capturing their attention in a creative way, it's going to set you all up for a much better experience. And even if your topic is serious, it doesn't mean your opening needs to be. I've already said you can have a fact that blows people's minds, or it can just be a spontaneous, in-the-moment reference to a speaker before you. That shows that you're present, that shows that you're immersed, and that shows that you're actually giving your attention to everybody else that's involved in the same experience. So the next time you go to write your opening line, make it count. Number 5 is prep like a pro the night before. I never used to do this, which is why it's so important. I used to spend the morning of an event, choosing my dress, getting my USB stick ready, making sure that my computer was set up, trying to race around to find my computer cord, and all of this takes precious energy away from the focus that should be going into your presentation. So now, without a shadow of a doubt, everything is ready the night before. So that is my recommendation. Get everything that you need ready the night before, so that your only focus on the day of a presentation is the content, the experience, the ideas, and how you can make it better. So the night before, think about every single thing that you need. Get your computer packed and ready, get a USB stick, have a backup on there, have a backup on Dropbox or a cloud if you want to have 3 backups. If you have any paperwork that you want to give to the audience or have people fill out, make sure that it's printed and ready to go. If you have any props, because I love props, make sure that they are packed in your bag the night before. Make sure you've got your electricity cord, charge your computer, and the list goes on and on. Always make sure that you prep the night before, so that if you need to, you can race out the door at 6 a.m. and everything is ready to go, because you never know what's going to happen on the day of a presentation or an event. In some cases, if a speaker is missing for some reason, you might get a bizarre phone call and, hey, can you rock up like an hour and a half early because we need to change the agenda. The last thing you want is to not be ready when that happens. Also, who knows, you might wake up and there might be some plumbing chaos that you have to attend to. So we want to be ready the night before, so that if anything happens on the morning of, everything that you actually need is ready to go. Also, prepping like a pro the night before means that you can actually have a beautiful deep sleep, because your mind isn't going to be racing and full of anxious loops thinking about everything that you need, because you've already done it. Number 6 is record, record, record. Record yourself delivering your presentation. It helps on so many levels. Number 1, if we're just going over our content in our mind, that's actually not a real rehearsal and it's not a real practice session. So if you record yourself on camera, you'll actually be able to spot all of the possible blanks that you would experience before the presentation itself, and you'll also be able to pick up on any mistakes that you would naturally make, because we tend to, in a first run, get a lot of stuff out of the way. So it's really good for spotting a first round of elements that you can improve. Also, body language. You want to see, how are you moving? Are you smiling? Is your chest open? Are you pacing too much? Do you need to stand still? What are you doing with your arms? Are you using your hands? What's your body language like? Is it open? Is it confident? Are you closed off? So we want to be able to look at, how am I actually moving? Because we spend so much time just focused on content, content, content. We forget that 70% of our communication is body language, 23% is voice, tone, and inflection, according to a study from Marquette University in Pennsylvania. But when we're preparing, we tend to just get stuck in the 7% that is content. So we need to actually focus on the other areas. So if you record yourself, you'll be able to actually see, how am I delivering it? What could I improve? And what's my tonality like? What's my pacing like? Do I need to go slower? Do I need to speed up? Do I need to inflect certain words so they pop? So an inflection is when you give emphasis to a specific word in order to really bring it to life. Also, when you record yourself, it's a very fast and very effective way to see, okay, what's ready, what's not ready, and what do I need to do right now in order to actually get ready. And I know that watching yourself back and listening to your voice can feel awkward, but the more you actually do it, the easier it gets. And just remember, don't let your inner critic come up. Don't let it be vocal. Don't let it yap in your ear. The process of recording yourself is to observe what works, what am I doing well, what areas do I need to improve, and what should I be focusing on between now and tomorrow's presentation. Don't let your inner critic come in and just focus on all of the things that are not going well, because that doesn't help anyone. If you do find videoing yourself super awkward, in my one-to-one client work, I teach you how to love the process of being on camera. So if you want to learn more about my one-to-one program, click the link in the description below. And number 7 is be grateful for the opportunity. We need to shift our mindset. When we're scared about something happening tomorrow, all we're doing is looking through a lens of fear. It's a very narrow lens, and we're focusing on anxious thoughts, which then just propels more anxious thoughts. So if we instead change our mindset and view our speaking opportunity as an incredible opportunity to influence people, to share our story, to share our message, and view it as an amazing 30 minutes to possibly change lives instead of, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to do 30 minutes, I'm so scared. This actually changes everything, because public speaking is never about you. It's always about the message you're sharing, the impact you're going to have, the value you're going to be creating in other people's lives, and how you can help them transform or improve or entertain them. It's about what you can actually add to others. If we instead go from, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to speak for 30 minutes tomorrow, to, oh my gosh, I have 30 minutes tomorrow to reach people that I've never met, to share a message in a brand new way, and to motivate and inspire and add value to other people's lives, it actually changes everything. Because we have no idea what someone's going to take away and how our words and our story can actually change their lives. And every single message that is positive has this enormous ripple effect in the world. So if we're instead grateful for an amazing opportunity for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, for 60 minutes in a boardroom, to be able to share a message, that is a huge pivot away from fear and anxiety to create an experience that is actually going to be amazing. And that means that we're going in with a brand new mindset. We're not going in with a closed off, fearful, nervous energy, which radiates out to our audience and doesn't help anybody and doesn't feel good and doesn't look good, and everyone can tell when you're super nervous. Instead, if you're really grateful, you're curious, you're open-minded, and you're excited. And that level of passion and enthusiasm is palpable. And we can pick up on that energy in a second. And it is an amazing way to open, and it sets the tone for an awesome experience and allows you to then nail your opening line because the tone has been set with your energy. See what I did there? Link the points. Thank you. Drum roll. So shift your mindset from fear to gratitude, and it changes everything. Do you know, I learned all of these lessons the hard way. I made mistakes, I fell, I picked myself back up. I made more mistakes, I fell again, and I picked myself back up. If you want to learn how it all began for me with a bad date back in July 2011, click the link in this video and I will share the entire experience of how a bad date turned me into a professional public speaker. Thanks for watching.